Welcome back to Sports by GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Today is Monday, October 21st. If you are just tuning in, we just finished going over our Week 7 in the NFL. Winners and losers, 5 winners, 5 losers. In this segment, we do the same thing, but for Week 8 of college football. 5 winners, 5 losers from a chaotic week in the world of college football. A crazy Saturday, but before we get into that, remember, if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net. Or if you are on YouTube, you can use that super chat feature. If you do either of those two things, a message should pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. If you do have a burning question about sports, anything at all that you would like to ask, go ahead and throw that in the comments. Throw it in the chat. I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. I appreciate everybody so much for sticking around, talking some sports with me here on a beautiful Monday, October 21st. But like I was saying, we are going to get into our winners and losers from a chaotic Week 8 in college football, starting, of course, with our losers. It's number 5. Our number 5 loser, it's the Tennessee Field Stormers. It's not Tennessee. Tennessee played a fine game. They beat Alabama. It was an ugly game. Neither of those teams seemed like they really wanted to win, but Tennessee wins. It was the Field Stormers after. They went on there. Not only did they storm the field as the number 11 team in the nation, which kind of felt a little weird to me in the first place, but they also did it against a team that, they weren't even, a lot of people predicted them to win. This wasn't a surprise win. But even when they stormed the field, it was half-hearted. They tried to get the goalposts out of the stadium, and security stopped them from getting the goalposts out of the stadium. That is just a failure of a field storming. You're either going to get the goalposts out of there, or you're not going to try. Really, I'm a little disappointed by Tennessee students. They got shown up by Vanderbilt and by themselves just a couple of years ago when they actually, storm the field in full force. They're our number 5 loser of the week. Our number 5 winner of the week, keep it nice and simple, it's Georgia. Georgia goes down to Texas, absolutely destroys them. That defense was playing phenomenal football. Just about every level of that defense was awesome. The offense needs a little bit of work. It needs more consistency. Carson Beck turned the ball over a couple of times when they were driving, but ETN came in there, scored enough touchdowns, got what they needed out of it. They got a big win in Texas. That was huge for their program. Not only does it keep them in the running for the SEC, but it muddles up everything at the top. As we saw in this week's AP poll, it's just chaos. It's just a bunch of muddled nonsense at the top because everyone is beating each other. It's going to be a chaotic race to the finish, and I cannot wait to keep you updated on all of it. Our number 4 loser of the week, and maybe this is a little bit biased for me. Maybe it is. It's James Madison. James Madison is a team that came in, and again, this is probably me being a little biased here, and maybe they should have been number 5 here, but still, they lose a game, and they just looked awful out there. They were a team that still had outside hopes at making the college football playoffs if they were able to sweep the Sun Belt East. Instead, they go down, and now they basically have no shot, not only to win the Sun Belt East, but also to make the playoffs at all. It was just a sad, sorry performance, and they can and they need to do better there. They're the number 4 losers. Our number 4 winners, it's South Carolina. They came in, they surprised me. That was my surprise team of the week. South Carolina coming in to Oklahoma and just dismantling them. They come off of a week where they probably should have beaten Alabama. Instead, they choke it at the end. They don't convert the 2-point conversion. They get the onside kick, and then they can't get anything going. They miss a field goal earlier. They should have beaten Alabama. Then they show up to Oklahoma, a defense that I was very high on, and they just destroy them. Not only offensively, but their defense showed up too. 2 straight scores from their defense on back-to-back Oklahoma drives. Just shut them down in the first half. That was an awesome game. Everyone was together. That is how South Carolina can play. And I just talked about the muddling up of the SEC. They're not completely out of it. Now, they're not in it, but they're also not completely out of it yet. So anything can happen. Our number 3 loser of this week of college football week 8 is the Big Ten depth. And I'll explain what I mean by that. The Big Ten was shaping up to be one of those conferences that, had had these hopes to have 4 people show up to the college football to the college football playoffs. They still have Ohio State. They still have Oregon. They still have Penn State. But outside of those big 3, throw Indiana in there if you want. Outside of those big 3 in Indiana that's having an awesome season, the depth that was supposed to be there, namely USC, Michigan, Rutgers, Nebraska, these teams that had great starts to the season that made the Big Ten look like one of the best conferences in the sport, have really fallen off. Rutgers especially. Nebraska suffers a brutal loss to Indiana this week. We've seen Michigan just continue to lose these games, and USC as well just continue to lose these games. The power of the Big Ten and the SEC, as we'll get to later, is just dwindling. They're supposed to have this super majority. We have all the great schools over everyone else, and it's just not showing up on the field. And honestly, it's probably good for the sport. At number 3, our number 2 winner. So number 3 winner, I apologize, got my numbers mixed up there. It's the group of 5 contenders. We've had the top 5, if you've been paying attention to our rankings Tuesdays, we've had the same top 5 group of 5 for at least the past 4 weeks. Basically, past 3 weeks, we've had the same group of 5, top 5, led by Boise State, who had a bye week, so they couldn't move up. UNLV plays a good game, not their greatest game, but the service academies, Army and Navy, absolutely dominant, going up against anybody, just dominating them so far. They've yet to face their toughest test, which is going to be Notre Dame later on this season. They both play them, but still, Washington State continues to play great football. These group of 5 contenders are pushing where there is a real possibility that 2 of them make the college football playoffs. And wouldn't that just be a fitting chaotic continuation for this chaotic season? Our number 2 loser, we kind of talked about a little bit, but it's Michigan. Michigan is our number 2 loser. They continue to just look awful. They're in their title defense mode, and yet they cannot beat anybody worth their salt. They're not even worthy to stand on the same field. They get blown out by Texas. Illinois destroys them. This is a team that does not have an offense. Its defense is solid, but it's not great. This team has no heart. It has no soul. It feels like it's just marching along to the beat. It doesn't feel like it has that kind of emotion it needs to go and contend with some of these big guys. And we're seeing it on the field week in and week out. Michigan just is not the same. And we knew that would happen, right? With losing their coach, losing a lot of their players, we knew that was going to happen after just winning the championship. But still, I didn't think it would be this bad. I thought they would at least continue to put up a fight in the Big Ten. Not a Big Ten championship level caliber, but still to be able to be in conversation with the top tier of the Big Ten, and yet they're just not. Michigan is the number 2 loser of this week. The number 2 winner of this week, sticking with the Big Ten, it's Curt Cignetti. Curt Cignetti comes over, goes to Indiana, and immediately turns that program around. Turns that program from one of the worst programs in the Big Ten to a team that is all but, if they beat every team other than Ohio State on their schedule, they are a lock for the college football playoff. And that is a big ask. It really is. But still, Indiana continuing to surprise people. Their best season ever right now. Only one other time they've been 7-0 in a season. But still, a lot of work to do. I'm sure they're not satisfied. Curt Cignetti's my number 2 winner of the week. Go get your money over there, coach. And our number 1 loser. Our number 1 loser of the week is the SEC dominance. I've kind of led up with this with a lot of our other topics that we've covered. You talk about a team, a conference that's supposed to be the best. It's supposed to be the SEC. It just means more, right? The SECs, they have all these top-tier talents, but Alabama has just crumbled without Nick Saban. And I'm not saying Kalen DeBoer has done a bad job. They beat Georgia. It's a big game. But still, losses to Vandy and losses to Tennessee in two losses in 3 weeks. This is their worst record already since 2007 when they lost 2 games in a row. This is not a good look for Bama, that dominance that they're supposed to have. Texas was supposed to be head and shoulders ahead of every single team in the country, and yet Georgia comes in and absolutely stomps them, makes them look like they hadn't played anybody real yet. Georgia, that next team in line, that team that was the number 1 ranked in the country to begin the season, loses to Alabama, almost loses to Kentucky, doesn't look their best against a team like Auburn, and the other teams that were ranked in the top 10. Tennessee has had its struggles losing to a team like Arkansas. Texas A&M starting to climb back up, but still they haven't been that level of team. Vandy has been a big surprise, but Ole Miss and Missouri both are falling off of cliffs. Alabama, Ole Miss, Missouri, they have been a huge disappointment for the SEC, and really that SEC dominance is going away. We look at a top 10 that was filled to the brim with SEC teams just a couple of weeks ago. Now, my top 10, and I'll do a little spoiler for tomorrow, it only has 4 SEC teams in there, which only 4 is still pretty good. But when you look at it where it was a couple of weeks ago, we were looking at 6, 7 SEC teams up there, and now they've really fallen. So the SEC dominance is my number 1 loser of the week. And my number 1 winner, I've talked about in just about everything. It's chaos. This football season has been the most chaotic college football season that I can remember. No one separating from the pack. No one up top is safe. Anybody can beat anybody. It has been a joy to watch. Chaos is my winner, and I hope it continues to be the number 1 winner every single week, because my God, has this football season been unpredictable and so much fun to watch. We're going to take a quick break here, though. We're going to turn over our reflective minds to our predictive minds. We're going to turn over to the world of baseball. The World Series has been set. The New York Yankees, the number 1 seed out of the AL, take on the LA Dodgers, a battle of 2 MVPs, or prospective MVPs, in Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judge. We will talk about this juggernaut of a matchup and everything you need to know about it coming up next here on Sports by GSMC Podcast Network.